I want to tell you about a skeleton. It's in Fallout 4. It's in a bathtub, in some collapsed little house you'll walk past and probably never think about again. And there's a toy in there with it, a little rubber duck, sitting in the tub, next to the bones of a kid who's been dead for 200 years. That's it. That's the whole thing. Nobody tells you about it. There's no quest marker, no audio log where a voice actor explains what happened, no achievement. The game does not care whether you notice it. Walk right past, it makes no difference. It's just a bathtub and a duck and a kid who was taking a bath when the world ended. And when I sat down to write this script, that stupid rubber duck was the first thing that popped into my head. That's what this video is about. Not Fallout is good. We all know Fallout is good. That's not a video. I mean, the other thing, the reason you can play 40 other role-playing games, some of them better games, honestly, mechanically better, prettier, tighter, and none of them get stuck in you the way this one does. There's something Fallout does that nothing else does, and it's weirdly hard to pin down what that something actually is. So, let's try. Okay, first one, most fantasy worlds are somebody else's. Fallout is yours. Think about it. You boot up a fantasy RPG, and you're in, I don't know, the kingdom of vaguely medieval. There's an elf, there's a prophecy, it's cool, it's well made, but you are a tourist there. You didn't grow up in that world. You've got no memories in it. Everything you know about it, the game had to teach you, usually through a codex entry you didn't read. Now boot up Fallout. And what's in it? A gas station, a diner, a supermarket, a high school with lockers and a trophy case, a suburb with a cul-de-sac and a driveway and a mailbox, Little League bleachers, a drive-in theater, somebody's kitchen with the plates still on the table. You already know this place. You have been in that supermarket. Maybe not that exact one, but you know exactly what it smelled like, what the floor felt like, what the lighting was. The game doesn't have to explain a single thing about it, because you brought all the context with you when you walked in. And that's the trick. That's the whole trick, honestly. Every other game hands you a world and says, here, learn this one. Fallout hands you your own world with the skin peeled off and says, look what happened to it. And it's a mean trick. It's a really mean trick when you actually think about what it's doing to you. The average fantasy or even an apocalypse game gives you something like a ruined tower, for example. Ooh, sad tower, whatever. And here's what Fallout gives you. It gives you a nursery with a crib in it, and a mobile hanging over the crib, and a little skeleton in the crib. It's not the same, not even close to the same. Second one, Fallout is the only game I can think of where the environment is doing narrative work harder than the actual writers are. And look, the newer Fallout games didn't actually have stellar writing. It's no secret. Although New Vegas has some of the best writing in the medium, we'll come back to that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the stuff nobody wrote as a story. The stuff a level designer arranged one afternoon that's telling you a complete tragedy without a single word. Two skeletons in a bed, holding each other, done. That's a whole story. You got the beginning, middle, and end in one glance, and nobody said anything. A skeleton in a bathtub with a rifle and a bottle of whiskey. Yeah, you know what that is. You didn't need a cutscene. A skeleton sitting on a toilet with a magazine, and you laugh. You do. You laugh because it's ridiculous. But it's also the last thing that person ever did, and it's so painfully, stupidly human that it lands somewhere between funny and awful. And you don't quite know where to put it. And the game just lets you sit there with it. It doesn't tell you how to feel. It's not gonna swell the music, it just left it there for you. That is such an unusual amount of trust to place in a player. Almost nobody does that anymore. Most games are terrified you'll miss the point, so they put the point in a cutscene, and then they have a character say the point out loud, and then a journal entry recaps the point. Fallout's over here going like, hey look, there's a duck in the tub, figure it out. And because you did the work, because you assembled that little story yourself out of a bathtub and a toy, it belongs to you now. You found that story. Nobody told it to you, and people never forget the things they found themselves. Okay, side tangent, the terminals. The computer terminals you find lying around that everybody skips. And I get why people skip them. Half of them are just a password for a door. But every so often you find one that's somebody's actual emails. And it's usually nothing. It's boring. It's a manager complaining about the coffee machine, somebody's annoyed about the parking situation, two coworkers having a slap fight about a report that's late, and then the entries stop. And the game never says why. It doesn't have to. You know why. The dates just run out. And suddenly the guy complaining about the coffee machine is the saddest thing you've read all week, because that was his last normal Tuesday and he had no idea. He was annoyed about coffee. That's what he spent it on. And you're standing in a dark room, reading a dead man's inbox, feeling weird about it, in a video game, about shooting mutants. Anyway, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Okay, the third one, the tone. That absolutely deranged only Fallout tonal cocktail. Because you'll be walking through a hollowed-out ruin of a city, contemplating nuclear annihilation and the death of civilization, feeling appropriately grim about the whole human project. And then a 50s swing tune kicks in on the radio. Some crooner singing about how the sun's gonna shine on you. And it's not ironic exactly, it's not the game winking at you, it's just there playing over the ruins. And the effect is so strange and specific that no other franchise has ever really replicated it. Or you'll be having a properly heavy conversation about a settlement getting wiped out, and then you turn around and there's a guy in a jetpack strapped to power armor selling you a gun that shoots teddy bears. Or a robot butler with a bad British accent that will not stop insulting you. And that mix is deliberate. The joke is what makes the horror land. That Voltec mascot, the grinning little guy with a thumbs up, is doing a bit about how to survive a nuclear blast. And it's funny, and it is also the sound of a corporation cheerfully telling you it's fine while it experiments on you. Both at once, not one after the other, simultaneously. And you know what that actually is? That's just how people cope. That's real. That's how people talk about awful things. You make the joke because otherwise you'd have to sit with it. Fallout figured out that the funniest possible framing of a nuclear apocalypse is also the most devastating one, and it has never let go of that. Every other post-apocalyptic thing is so serious. It's gray. Everyone's whispering. Everybody's in a dusty coat looking at the horizon meaningfully. And Fallout's like, yeah, the world ended, and there's a game show. There's a radio DJ having a nervous breakdown live on the air. There's a town built inside an unexploded bomb, and they worship it. They worship the bomb. Come on, what other franchise has a personality like that? Alright, fourth one. Fallout is about the choice, and specifically, it's about the choice you regret. Now, every RPG says it's about choice. Every single one. It's on the back of every box. And usually what that means is you get to pick whether you're a nice person or a mean person, and there's a little meter, and at the end you get the nice ending or the mean ending, and both endings are about the same length, and neither one costs you anything. That's a menu. Calling it a choice is generous. Fallout at its best, and in terms of choices, that's New Vegas, but Fallout at its best does something that nobody else or almost nobody else is brave enough to do. It gives you options where none of them are clean. The NCR is a democracy, and it's also bloated and corrupt and grinding people up. The Legion is monstrous, and it also actually makes the roads safe. House is brilliant, and he's also a tyrant who sees you as a tool. And then there's the fourth door, where you say, forget all of you, I'll do it myself. And that road's got its own body count, and you can't have all of it. That really is special. You have to close doors. You have to walk away from an entire faction's worth of content, a whole set of people you liked, because you made a call. And the game doesn't pat you on the head about it. Sometimes you make what you think is the good choice, and someone dies anyway, and nobody tells you it was your fault, but you know it was. A morality meter tells you what you are. This just leaves you with it. And I think that's the thing that made a whole generation of people obsessive about this series. Because a game where you can undo everything, where the choices are cosmetic, that's a game you finish and forget. A game where you had to give something up, that one stays. You'll be doing the dishes years later going, maybe I shouldn't have sided with Mr. House. And that's what a real choice does to you. It doesn't end when the credits do. And it's why so much of the frustration with the newer games isn't really about graphics or bugs, it's about this. When your character has a voice and a backstory and they're looking for their kid, you can be nice about it or sarcastic about it, but you're always looking for the kid. And it's not a terrible story, you're just watching that role more than you're playing it. Fifth, Fallout is one of the only games that makes silence feel like content. Think about how you actually play Fallout. Not the quests, but the other 90%. You leave a settlement and you pick a direction and then you just walk for a long time and nothing happens. There's a highway overpass, there's a dead tree, there's a busted car, maybe some wind, maybe the radio's on and it's playing the same 6 songs it always plays. And in almost any other game, that would be terrible design. That's called dead space. That's the part you'd complain about in a review, but in Fallout, that emptiness is doing the heaviest lifting in the entire game. Because that's the apocalypse, that's what it would actually be. Not constant thrilling battles with raiders, but hours of nothing, walking through the corpse of a country, past 1,000 things that used to belong to somebody. The emptiness is the point. The loneliness is the point. And Fallout is one of the very few big-budget games with the confidence to just let you be alone in it for a while. To not fill every second with a marker and a reward and a chime. And then, right in the middle of all that nothing, you'll crest a hill and there'll be a farmhouse and you'll go in. Because of course you will, you always go in. And there'll be 2 skeletons at a kitchen table with a chessboard between them. And you'll stand there for a second, and then you'll loot the place and move on, because that's what you do. But you'll remember the chessboard. Last one, Fallout is not actually about the apocalypse. It never was. It looks like a game about the bombs, but the bombs are the setup. They take about 8 seconds. The game is about the 200 years after, which is a completely different subject. It's about what people do when the rules are gone. And what they do over and over in every Fallout game is rebuild the exact same systems that killed them. They start a new empire. They start a new company. They put on a uniform and they salute a flag and they go take somebody's land. 200 years, thousands of dead, an entire civilization erased, and the survivor's first instinct is to reinvent the thing that ended the world. And Fallout knows that's the joke. War never changes, right? The most quoted line in the whole series, and it gets repeated like it's badass. It's a diagnosis. The series is looking you dead in the eye, telling you the whole thing's gonna happen again, and you're gonna help. That's why the vaults are what they are. They were never shelters, they were experiments. And the point of that isn't just corporations bad, it's darker than that. It's that even when they knew the end was coming, even with the last few thousand humans in the world, somebody in a boardroom saw an opportunity. That's the real horror of Fallout. Not the mutants, the meeting where somebody signed off on it. And it lands because you recognize it. Because you've seen the cheerful ad, you've heard the friendly corporate voice explaining why something terrible is actually fine and good, and for your benefit. Fallout's satire works on you specifically because you live here in the world it's making fun of. So, add it all up. A world made of your own furniture, broken. Stories you have to assemble yourself out of junk, so they end up belonging to you. A tone that jokes and grieves in the same breath, because that's what people actually do. Choices with a real cost that you carry around for years afterward. Long stretches of nothing that let the loneliness sink in. And underneath all of it, a really bleak, really funny argument about how people are gonna do it all again. No other RPG is doing that. Not all at once. There are RPGs with better combat, absolutely. RPGs with better graphics, better systems, better technology, games that are frankly better made, top to bottom. Great games, really great games. And almost none of them move into your head and set up permanent residence the way this one does. Because Fallout isn't competing on any of that. It's doing its own thing. It's taking your world, the one with the gas stations and the supermarkets and the rubber ducks, and it's showing you the bones of it. And then it walks away and lets you stand there and look. And that skeleton's still in that bathtub, right now. It's been there for 200 in-game years and about 10 real ones. And nobody's ever gonna tell that kid's story because there isn't one. There's just a tub and a toy, and the fact that somebody made that choice, put that duck there, and knew exactly what they were doing. That's why it's different. That's the whole thing.